If you live in Nebraska, your risk for Parkinson's disease might be higher than most Americans. Tonight, a first alert to a possible reason and the local research that could change everything. First Alert 6's Sydney Babb shares the findings in a new study.
Deb Clopton has always been active, spending much of her free time outdoors.
I'd been a runner. I'd been active. I'd lifted weights.
But a diagnosis 6 years ago changed things for her.
I noticed a lot of stiffness in my legs, tremors. My voice got softer. My handwriting got worse. And all of those things seem like they might be coming to an end, actually.
Deb is one of an estimated 620 out of every 100,000 Nebraskans living with Parkinson's disease. While there's no known cause, one risk factor could be difficult to avoid in an agricultural state.
One of the risk factors that are associated with Parkinson's is rural living. And they think that maybe pesticide exposure is a cause.
Deb, a lifelong Nebraskan, has been close to that risk her entire life.
We always had a big backyard garden. We did use the normal garden pesticides where I hike and bike and run outside, which is right adjacent to agricultural land. And it's not uncommon for a crop duster to actually be applying pesticides while I'm on my bike.
Since her diagnosis, Deb has participated in research studies for a cure, similar to ones led by Dr. Lee Mosley at UNMC. He's studying the inflammatory nature of Parkinson's and how cow colostrum, the first milk produced by a new mother, could be a solution.
What we think it does is that it is an anti-inflammatory agent that can attenuate the inflammatory responses that are going on in Parkinson's and in Alzheimer's disease.
Deb participated in a different study involving leucine, typically a cancer treatment, but so far showing improvements for Parkinson's patients.
Being a scientist, I believe that you need to participate in science as well.
Taking part in the science that could one day help thousands of Nebraskans. In Omaha, I'm Sydney Babb, First Alert 6.
Remember, that study mentioned is decades in the making. A farm in Elmwood, Nebraska has provided cow colostrum to UNMC for them to continue the research after they saw how breast milk could have immune benefits.